There we go. Welcome to Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made for real estate agents and by real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris. I am your guide and host through the show. Today is our monthly series called Closing Time with Chris Linsell from theclose.com. And this is a partnership between Keeping It Real and The Close. And let me tell you more about The Close. Now, theclose.com is the kind of real estate website designed to give agents, teams, and brokerages actionable strategic insight from industry professionals. Now, they cover real estate marketing, lead generation, technology, and team building strategies from the perspective of working agents and brokers who want to take their business to the next level. Please visit theclose.com. Again, it's theclose, THECLOSE.com, and check out some of their articles. Also, at the very top of all their pages, you can subscribe to their newsletter. I'm a huge believer in that because if you're like me, there's lots of websites that you go, I should be visiting that more often, but we just don't. So if you subscribe to their newsletter, you'll get emailed every time they produce a long form article, which is all the time. They have such great content. With us, as always, is Chris Linsell. He's a staff writer and real estate coach for The Close. Chris is The Close's resident expert on real estate topics ranging from marketing, lead gen, transactional best practices, and everything in between. He's a licensed agent in the state of Michigan, and Chris has been part of hundreds of transactions from modest rural starter homes to massive waterside compounds. And when he isn't writing, you'll find Chris fly fishing or performing on the stage of his community theater's production. Chris, welcome once again to Keeping It Real. We're excited to have you.
DJ, glad to have you. I never get tired of listening to your introduction about The Close and about all the stuff that I'm working on. It's genuinely a pleasure to be here. So glad that Close can continue to partner with you guys, and ready for a good convo today.
Too. It is. And we should say that by the time this episode will be released, you will have already spoken at the National Association of Realtors conference. So let me be the first to congratulate you on your successful conversation, which hasn't actually happened yet. But I'm sure by the time this has been released, it will have been a success. I was at your speech last year in San Diego, and I thought it was the best session I went to because you were willing to take a stand and make some bold predictions. And just out of curiosity, by the time everyone will have heard this, it's already have happened. But what was your topic that you spoke about at NAR for this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually am doing 2 sessions at NAR this year. The first one is on 5 missed expectations of our consumers, specific to the way that technology plays a role in our industry. So what are our consumers expect from real estate professionals that we miss on a regular basis, and we lose business as a result? So lots to chat about there. The other session that I will be / have already delivered is 5 listing secrets from the top producers that I've worked with from across the country. And this ranges from everything from lead generation to listing presentations to marketing to closing and after transaction relationships. It is not an accident that the leaders in our space are consistently the same people every single year. It's because they've got some stuff figured out. And I'm sharing 5 big secrets about this. But actually, I want to say, you will still, if you are listening to this and you are in New York, New Jersey, or Pennsylvania, you can get a chance to hear some of this stuff. If you didn't catch me at NAR, because I'm going to be at Triple Play in Atlantic City in December, talking about a lot of the same stuff there, with some New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania specific details added. So if you're in that tri-state, come check me out at Triple Play. We can rehash the conversation and get into some more together.
You guys, you know what you need on The Close is and maybe you do have this and I missed it, but you need to have like a calendar or some sort of events so that all the readers, will know about your upcoming speeches. If it isn't there, maybe you guys could add that because you do speak a lot. And also too, NAR, I always say it the wrong way. So however it's supposed to be, I used to say NAR and then people at NAR would be like, it's really NAR. So anyway, I don't know if it matters, but regardless of how you pronounce it, are those sessions, do we know if those sessions are also going to be recorded and available for purchase or for anyone? Obviously for attendees, I suspect they'll already had access, but I didn't know if you could like buy them. So I don't know if you know.
Yep.
But.
The recordings, the sessions will be recorded. They will be available on the NAR Conference and Expo website for members of NAR. I want to say it's free for members of NAR, but it might just be free for attendees and super duper cheap for members that didn't attend. So
Right.
if you just can't get enough Chris Linsell, you can head to the NAR website and just mainline me right into your bloodstream there.
Oh, that's funny. I don't want to associate you with addictive, destructive drugs, but getting addicted to your content is actually a good idea. So if you're going to get addicted to anything, Chris's content is right up there at the very best for real estate marketing and just really just business and team planning. So I really think what they offer on the close is an actual perspective, an actual point of view. I think realtors are often, because of they're wanting to grow their business and be as accessible to so many people, there's this idea of neutrality that I want to be sort of in the middle. I don't want to offend or create any derision between myself and the customer. But I love that the close is willing to take a stand, but not just an uninformed opinion. You guys do a ton of research and you arrive at a conclusion. And I often agree with pretty much all of the conclusions I read on the close. So whether you see Chris live or you're able just to read some of the content he provides, theclose.com is really impressive, because you won't just get a list of like, here's 5 ways to spruce up your next open house. It's going to be, here's what we've studied about open houses and here's what we know works, and here are some actual tidbits you're not going to get anywhere else. So I love that the close is my favorite website to read about anything marketing related or business building. So anyway, but we're not here to talk about how great the website is, because I could do that. I could do that all this entire time. But I'm excited to chat with you today. We were talking just before we started about what were we going to chat about today, and I think the topic's a very good one. So why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, so there's there's some shifts that are happening in the real estate market right now. We all know this. We can see it in our local market. We can definitely read about it in big national publications like the National News and the Close and Inman. Everybody is covering these shifts in the market, and I think the best way to kind of think about this is put yourself, as you're listening to this, put yourself in the shoes of the agent you were in November 2021. Or maybe let's go with Memorial Day 2021, where we were seeing photos in the New York Times of people lined up around the block waiting to get into open houses. And we were seeing banks advertise on their website mortgage interest rates that would be you could basically fit 4 of inside the current mortgage rates. We were seeing opportunities for buyers and sellers that felt like they were on a different planet than the market as we're taping this right now, second week in November 2022. So I want you to think about your business then and your strategies for success. And I want you to think about your business now. And what I'm hoping we can chat about a little bit today is how the shift between markets is a heck of a lot bigger than the shift between strategies for most agents. Most agents, they know the market has changed. They know their consumers' needs have changed. They know their opportunities have changed. But have they changed their strategies? Almost, some of them, not at all. And most of us, hardly at all. And this is a problem. We're going to get bit by this pretty soon.
Well, can we talk about the strategies that are the tried and true older strategies that are adopted by agents who haven't yet fully adapted to the current market conditions and the needs of the agents, or sorry, the needs of the customers?
So the say that one more time. So the tried and true strategies
Yeah,
that
so
are
maybe
out.
we should just define what are some traditional marketing
Mm,
strategies that may or may not make sense today, but are
great.
still being taught and touted,
Yep.
throughout the industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm just going to use a really basic example so we can all kind of get our heads around this. Real estate postcards. There is a ton of content on the internet. The Close has some of it, actually, that talks about how to effectively use direct mail and postcards to generate leads. And if you think back to Memorial Day 2021, if you sold a house in a neighborhood, you could literally just put on a postcard, I sold this house, and this mail it to 500 homes nearby. And you'd get calls because people are like, oh, wow, okay, this sold for 6 times more than I thought it would. I own a house here. Maybe I should sell my house.
Sure.
You couldn't spit out. You couldn't walk outside and spit on the sidewalk without accidentally hitting the shoe of somebody else who wanted to buy a house at that point. That is not the case any longer. If you go out and spam blast the 500 closest homes to the latest transaction in a neighborhood, not only are you taking putting a burn barrel in the front yard and just lighting the money on fire that it costs to send those postcards, you are developing a negative industry reputation as somebody who is not in touch with the current climate and the needs of buyers and sellers. I would say a year and a half ago, we would think about our lead generation as an umbrella, an upside down umbrella. You just turn the umbrella upside down, leads are going to fall into it. We are not in an upside down umbrella economy and climate any longer. We are now in a samurai sword climate where you need to have swift, deliberate, thoughtful strokes in order to be effective. And you're only going to hit a small chunk of what you're swinging at a time, but it's going to be effective if you can be thoughtful around it. So, in the example of postcards, we're talking about adjusting from this spam blast, this what I call evidence of action or evidence of activity, and shifting it towards evidence of expertise. You want to show people, yes, this house sold, and it sold in part because you are a specific expert in a particular thing that got this transaction across the finish line. And the people who you are targeting with your marketing would also benefit from that specific expertise. Shifting from an evidence of action to an evidence of expertise is a tough thing to do, but once you do it, it's incredibly effective.
So just to make sure this is really clear, evidence of action would be based around an accomplishment, right? So
Yeah,
in the example of, hey, I sold your neighbor's home. That's
that's
an
exactly
evidence
right.
of action. Or, hey,
Mhm.
I'm a top producer, evidence of action.
Yep.
Well, I guess that could be both, right? That could be both expertise and so yeah, right. We're not necessarily talking in absolutes, but this
Hmm.
idea of I accomplished X, therefore I would be a good realtor for you, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Think about, I mean, evidence of action. The simplest form of evidence of action is your name on the rider outside the sign that's in the front yard. That now is still is true. It's evidence of action, but think about the message it sends when that sign and that name on that name rider sit in the front yard for 6 months instead of 6 days now.
Yeah.
It is a counter example to your evidence of expertise. The longer that sits there, the longer people are like, oh, John Doe doesn't know what the heck he's talking about because he doesn't know how to sell real estate because this house is just sitting right now. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So to shift to an evidence of expertise, let's say that same house that you're going to blast that spam blast that postcard about, the postcard now reads, this particular house, we sold this house and it happened to have a wood foundation, which is not uncommon for homes in the Midwest that were built in the like late 80s, early 90s. This home happens to have a wood foundation. Wood foundations are perfectly safe and great actually for places that get snow. However, property inspectors don't always like wood foundations, and they can give some tough reports on this sort of thing. I happen to have the expertise to be able to navigate the property inspector, the appraiser, the buyer, and the seller, and we got the job done. And if you've got a wood foundation, I can get the job done for you too. This is evidence of expertise. And of course, all of that would be difficult to put on a postcard specifically. But what we're talking about here is changing your strategy from that upside down umbrella to a samurai sword. So you can cut and say, this is where I'm effective. This is where I can create value. This is where we can work together. That's what's going to be necessary for success in the next iteration of the real estate market.
So let's talk about how to actually do this. So what we're really talking about is hyper segmenting your prospect list by their needs, and or if you don't have a prospect list, identifying a prospect list based on need, right? So we're talking about going after specific audiences that have similar needs, as opposed to just throwing everything out there and whoever responds. We're going to go target and find people who specifically want X, Y, or Z. I'm going to demonstrate my expertise of X, Y, and Z. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding that correct.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the real challenge here is fighting this urge to be everything to everyone, right? Like, it is difficult for a lot of real estate professionals to effectively niche down, because they don't want to be seen as the one realtor who does the one thing. Well,
Right.
The thing that we often forget about niching down is that it's not a mutually exclusive act. You can have lots of niches. In fact, you should have lots of niches. You should be an expert in a handful of things. If you are an expert in a handful of things, you have lots of opportunity for success. Ultimately, I try to tell agents that I coach, when they're talking about transitioning their market into what I would consider to be this, it's just a tighter real estate market. We're going to see less demand, higher interest rates, fewer transactions. When we're transitioning into these tighter markets, we ultimately have to show both our buyers and our sellers that their success is possible, relevant to what we can provide them. That it is not just a matter of throwing something on Zillow and waiting for 20 offers to roll in. Success is still a path, and we can get you there. This is really a chance to demonstrate your specific expertise value. And agents, even those who are still developing, those who are brand new to the real estate field, they still have expertise value. Nobody else has access to the same MLS level data that you do. Certainly people can search properties on Zillow, but they don't have the back end that you do. They don't have the connections that you do. They don't have the opportunity to network with their colleagues the way that you do. And so right now is the time to start demonstrating that value of expertise to your clients. And the faster you can do it, the more out ahead of your competition you can get, the more transactions you're going to be capturing in the end of 2022 and the start of 2023.
Can I give you my favorite example of this? And it actually comes from years ago. So the home I lived at just prior to where I live now was a high rise in River North here in Chicago. And there were plenty of realtors that would send mailers that were more of the generic type flyers or brochures or postcards kind of thing. And when they would show up in our mailbox once a month, random agents, there was one agent who every month we got a 8.5 by 11 front and back, postcard essentially, but it's, much bigger. And it basically said, I'm so-and-so, I have sold more condos in this building than any other realtor. And he said it in a slightly less direct way, but that was what he said on the front. Also on the front, he goes, here, by the way, are all the condos that have sold in the building in the last month, which was really smart because you could see what 2 bedrooms were selling for and 1 bedrooms, etc. And then on the back, it had a list of every single time he had sold a property in the building. It had a list of all of his accomplishments. And I thought, well, if I was not in the business and I was looking to sell my property, I was a renter at the time, so it didn't apply to me. I said, I think I would go with this guy. He seems to really know the building. He's a total expert, or at least he has projected some sort of expertise. I don't know if he's actually an expert in the building, but if he's being honest about his marketing, he's sold more properties within the building. That's usually a good sign in my mind as a consumer. So anyway, that was my favorite thing, and I've yet to really see anyone else ever do that. And again, not now for anyone listening, they might think, well, I'm not the biggest seller of a particular neighborhood or a building like that. So not everyone's going to be able to do that. You have to earn your way there. But he wouldn't have even had to say that he was the guy who sold the most property in the building. He just happened to be that guy, but he could have also, anybody could have sent everything else that was included, all the prices of the places that just sold, and like that's demonstrating value. It's demonstrating, hey, I'm not just blanketing this building saying, hey, work with me, I'm a realtor. Oh, by the way, here's information that you, person who lives in, apartment 1507 or condo 1507 cares about. So that's, to me, a great example.
Yeah, I totally agree. By the way, now we all know that DJ lived in condo 1507. So, well, it's interesting. One thing I want to call out too, as a power up to agents who are seeking to put this strategy into place, is wherever possible, highlight your ability to not just save your clients time, or excuse me, I just spoiled it. Not just save your clients money, but save your clients time. The time aspect of a transaction, especially in an unpredictable market, is extraordinarily valuable. So your example of the realtor who is consistently sending you marketing about the activity in the building, I think that could even be taken to the next level to say something along the lines of, I've done this now 57 times in this building. I know exactly the steps. We are not going to lose we're not going to lose any time trying to figure out what we do next, because I know exactly what needs to happen. As a consumer, personally, I will go with somebody who is more expensive if I am very confident that they not only know the steps, but they know the timeline and they can accurately forecast that for me. That is critical, especially for folks who have a little bit higher net worth. They can afford to spend more. They are not penny pinching specific, like a 0.5 percentage point on the commission, but they only have a finite amount of time in their life to dedicate to this sort of thing. Anybody who can demonstrate that they are the best use of their time, that they win the listing just about every time, especially for those folks who are pushing into the $1 million plus range for property.
I just talked to somebody who just got their license yesterday, and I said, "Oh, what career are you coming from?" Because she was like, "I'm switching careers," and or she was like, "I'm going to stay with my existing career just for a while before I go full time into real estate." I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And she goes, "Oh, I work with surgeons. I work." She wasn't a nurse. Some sort of admin person for surgeons, and she's been doing that for like 20 years. So I said, wow, that's kind of interesting and hyper specific. And she said, yeah, I'm going to try my best to only work with surgeons. And I said, oh, I said, well, that makes sense. And she goes, I totally understand how they think. I know I know approximately what they earn. I know, she just has all this data about working with surgeons because that's what she's done. She goes, I want to be the surgeon person. And I'm like, that is a brilliant strategy, because it is hyper specific. You understand the needs of that market, and you have access to that market.
100%. I have it's a great example that you just used there. I have an agent who I'm friends with in my local market who has signed an exclusivity agreement with the recruiter for the local hospital system in northern Michigan. This person only takes clients from the recruiter's office. She signed this agreement, said, I'm not going to work with anyone else. I will turn away business. I will only work with the buyers and sellers that you send me. You have to send me your buyers and sellers. But I will only work with these people. The thing that at first, a lot of people thought she was absolutely crazy for doing this, because it's like, people want to work with you. You're going to send them away. She said, I am demonstrating expertise in a specific niche. I'm working with people who need to buy and sell. They typically have a timeline. They typically have specific things that they're looking for, like distance to the hospital, distance to the physical therapy hospital, or wherever they're going, and they typically have a definable range of properties that they're interested in. I become the expert in this space. She said, honestly, the fact that these folks are typically buying homes that are on the upper echelon of value, this is secondary to me. That is a distant second to the consistent expertise that I get to establish in a particular niche.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of social proof with that too, saying, "Oh,
Big
by the
time.
way, this is exclusively what I do. I'm basically, a recruiter who only recruits,
Mm-hmm.
surgeons or whatever it might be." So I think if anyone listening is wondering, well, I don't have that. I don't know what that might be for me. I have a suggestion. Talk to all of your clients that you have worked with in the past and maybe think about, were there clients that you really enjoyed, what they did professionally, or you were really excited about, what maybe they had a hobby or an interest or a neighborhood they lived in or something that was unique to them that maybe other people might have a shared interest or category of how they live their life that fits in the
Mm-hmm.
same category. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you are somebody that likes working with doctors, now's the time to go start talking to doctors and saying, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make a shift. I want to work with more people like you, or more teachers, or more firefighters, or whatever. It doesn't have to be a profession, whatever it might be. But I need to really understand your market better." You could spend the next year interviewing as many of those people, and you'll have a pretty good sense of whatever shared characteristics they have, and then you could create
Mm-hmm.
marketing pieces specific to that hyper dialed in sort of
Mm-hmm.
need.
Absolutely. 100%. The long and the short of it is, I mean, to kind of put a bow on this conversation, um, the agents who are going to find the most success and are most likely to continue to be scaling their business after 2023 are the agents who can pivot away from this kind of like operating like an opportunity vacuum cleaner, because it used to be that we saw so many opportunities in every single place. The reality is, DJ, that the fact that the market conditions are changing, it doesn't affect the fact that people still need places to live. We still need to buy and sell. People are still going to get new jobs and lose their existing jobs. They're going to have kids. They're going to get divorces. Spouses are going to die. There's going to be a ton of different reasons why real estate still needs to happen. So it's not that there aren't the transactions. It is just the accessibility and the approach to those transactions will change. And so if you are stuck operating your upside down umbrella strategies and wondering why you're not being successful, you should look to see, get your samurai sword out of the closet and start swinging it.
Yeah, now is the time to think about this too. When with the in with the way that we shop and the way that we sort of navigate the world. Yes, there are places for the big superstores like Amazon virtually, or Walmart, with more the brick and mortar. Yes,
Mhm.
there is convenience, and there makes sense to sort of try to be all things to a shopper. But the vast majority of us, when we want something a little bit more specialized than just going out and getting our groceries or our household needs, we're usually doing a lot of searching online. We're doing a little research ourselves, or we're looking for somebody who can help provide that to us in a much more concise way, right?
Mhm.
And I think this is, I mean, if we just look at Reddit is a great example. I don't know how many subreddits there are. There's got to be tens of thousands, and these are all hyper specific to a particular interest. And if you don't know what Reddit is, you guys can look it up. But basically, whatever you're into, you can go find your community. And so the point is that can be extrapolated out to your own business as well. Figure out what, is something that you want to specialize in. And
Mhm.
even if you're not that familiar with it, you can get familiar with it. You want to work with developers? Start talking to developers and saying, how do agents get in with you? Like, what are they
Mhm.
doing? How are they
Mhm.
getting, what are your needs? What are you, I mean, these are things that you can do. First time home buyers, people who have divorce attorneys, if you want to work with people who are divorced. I know
Mhm.
tons of realtors who just do that, who
Mhm.
go, well, I just get in good with the attorneys. I know the needs of a divorcee. I understand what that process looks like. I understand some of the legal part of it. Anyway, I could go on and on. The point is come up with something. And by the way, as Chris was saying, it doesn't have to be your only niche, right? It could be niche one. And then instead of having buckets of different types of processes for marketing, like I have my farming bucket, then I just, and I have my referral bucket. You could also have buckets around your niches, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Definitely.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
we need to wrap up because Chris is ready to board a flight very shortly, and he's got some calls to make before he goes to NAR and blows the room out like he did last year. So anyway, we're gonna say goodbye to Chris, but before we do, want everyone, please, 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 this is the website. By the way, the close does not pay us for this at all. And we would never ask for them to pay us because we are such big fans of theirs that we want everybody to go read it. We actually think you'll become a better realtor by reading theclose.com. And oh, by the way, like 99% of it's free. So that's even better. You don't have to pull your card out. Of course, they do have a premium subscription model as well for the Close Pro. We'll talk about that on our next episode, but at the very least, go read their stuff. Chris and the editorial staff there are not afraid of going deep. They go wide and they have an opinion. So it's not just facts and figures. It's like, and by the way, here's what we recommend, guys. There isn't really anything else out there like this that I found. So go to theclose.com. And by the way, also, we'll keep you abreast of Chris's speaking engagements so that maybe you can go see him live. But Chris, thank you so much for once again being on our show. We would love to we're love to have you, of course, again in 2023. We will continue to have you on here, and maybe we'll even make some tweaks to it to make it even better for next year. But we're excited to continue the relationship. On behalf of everyone, because this will be the last episode of the year with you. We really appreciate everything you do for our show. So thank you on behalf of the audience.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure. Looking forward to the next time too.
Awesome. All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode, guys. We will see Chris in 2023. Either you can see him in person or on our show once a month. So thanks, Chris. Thanks to the audience. Please tell a friend. In fact, tell two friends. That would really help us out. It's the holiday season. Tell two friends about our show, and that's all we'll ever ask of you. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Chris.